Hello again, and thank you very much for joining us today, Luis Padilla and Rick Vargas, Captain at Fire Station 63 in our neighborhood. Please start your presentation. Thanks again.
All right, well, great. Well, my name is Luis Padilla. I'm going to go over it, but I wanted to do this little presentation. Let me introduce myself. I'm Fire Inspector 2. I have 25 years of service with the Richmond Fire Department. I was a firefighter. I was hired in 1995, and from 1995 to 2000, I was a firefighter. And then I promoted to the rank of engineer in 2000. And then in 2007, I promoted to captain. And then from 2007 to 2017, I became a fire inspector. I am president of the Local 188, the union that represents your firefighters. I've been there since 2019. I included my email address. If you guys want to take a second and write it down, if you ever have any questions or concerns, I'm here to be a complete open book to you guys. And I mean, you might not always like what I have to say, but I'm going to be honest about it. You know, please feel free to reach out to me if you ever have any questions or problems. Okay. Especially since I'm in the bureau, you can call me if you have complaints as well. All right, Rick.
Hi, my name is Rick Bargas. I'm a captain. I've been a captain for over 20 years. I started in 91 as a firefighter. I got promoted very early in my career to captain in 96. I spent over 20 years at Station 68, the Hilltop Station, which has a truck, an engine, and a rescue at that station, as well as a Type 6 that does various wildland stuff. I've been to Station 63, which is at the corner of Valley View and Amen, for about 4 years now. And I have 29 years in service. I've been on the executive board for 25 years. I'm also a president of the Richmond Bomberos, which is the Latino Firefighters Association, which helps with social events, sober graduation, Cinco de Mayo, and events such as those. Thank you.
Okay, so let me start with talking about our current daily staffing at your Richmond Fire Department. Okay, we have 7 fire stations in the city of Richmond. Okay, and each fire station has one engine company. Let me turn my radio down. I'm also a fire investigator and I'm on call. So we have one truck company one truck company crew, that's a dedicated crew. So that's a double company house, and that's located at Station 64, which is on the corner of Bayview and Carlson, down near the annex. We have one cross staff truck, which means that there's only one crew at the station. That's a Station 68 up in Hilltop. And what that crew does is they bounce from the truck to the engine. So if they have, because more likely they're going to respond to medicals on the engine. If they get a truck call, they have to move all their equipment, their personal equipment, their helmet, their radio, their coat, their pants, and any type of special. If they have a special axe that they carry, they have to move it over. So that's time consuming. Okay, where seconds counts, but that's what we have right now since we have one dedicated truck. We have one hazmat apparatus, which responds to Chevron refinery, chemtrade. We have a lot of industry in the city of Richmond, and there's a lot of chemical companies and stuff, and they have problems. Well, probably have accidents. So we'll respond to spills or releases, and we have full level A suits. We're fully encapsulated. We can go in and mitigate hazardous materials problems or situations. We're the only hazmat crew in West County. All right. We have one air response rig, which is a big giant rig that has a bunch of tanks in there to fill Scott bottles or SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus. So when we go into fires, we have to wear these tanks so that we can breathe inside the hazardous areas, the toxic environments. So this rig will go out there to a fire and it'll stay there and it'll fill the bottles for us so we can always have fresh bottles to go in so we're not breathing bad air. We have 4 Type 6 apparatus, which is your wildland. They're the smaller fire trucks, if you will. Okay, let me back up a quick second. The fire engine, well, I'll go into it later with my other slide, but these are smaller apparatus. Okay, and the reason why we have them smaller so they can get into tighter areas, like your fire lanes, that are off of the Dam Road or Wildcat Canyon or Briones. you can't get a whole fire engine in there. So you need a smaller piece of apparatus that can get through those little tight spots. And those carry about 250 gallons of water in there. Okay. When we have only 4 in the city, but at one time we had 7. Every station had a type 6, but decisions that are above our pay grade were made to cut those down. So you have one up in 63 though. We do have one there. We have 2 rescue apparatus, which carries a bunch of harnesses and ropes and saws and all kinds of stuff like that. We have one at the Hilltop Station because of the I-80 corridor there. And then we have another one at 67, which is down over on the 1100 block of Cutting, which handles that part of 580. And they're strategically placed there because of the freeway. So I have a question for everybody on here. Does everybody, everybody give me a guess of how many firefighters they have on duty daily? Let me start with Soheila. How many firefighters do you think we have on duty daily with everything I just showed you?
Maybe
There's no right or wrong answer.
50 to 80.
Okay. Mr. Is it Plute?
Plute.
Yes. How many? What's your guess?
How many? Okay, I don't know, sometimes 60.
Okay. Let's see. Who do I have next here? I have Mrs. Grassi.
I'll guess 40.
Okay. Miss Orona. You're muted.
Sarnie? I was going to guess 50.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. Miss Sarni.
I was gonna think maybe 4 times 8 stations, right? So that'd be 32 at a
Okay.
time, right? This
Okay,
is
yeah,
at one
daily.
time?
Daily.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. and Mrs. Craig. You have a guess?
We were 35.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I don't know who HP is. I just see HP.
That's Cliff.
Okay.
Cliff.
Anybody else want to guess? Miss Picklow? All right. All right. So here's the answer. The answer to your question, to the question is, we have 24 firefighters on duty daily.
When you say daily, do you mean at any given time or in the course of the whole day, all the shift? Well, it's all on one
It's
shift.
one shift. Okay.
Yeah.
One shift. We have three platoons. Okay. An A shift, a B shift, and a C shift. So each shift has 24 firefighters staffing it.
Are they evenly distributed?
And oh, you're unmuted. So have a question. Are they evenly distributed?
Each station has 3, with the exception of Station 64, which is a double company house. So they have 6, only because they staff the truck. That's the only fully staffed truck that we have in the city.
Could you explain again the functionality of fire engine versus truck company?
Great question. Let me start. All right. What's the difference? Okay. So let me start with fire engine. Okay. So a fire engine, you guys see these rolling around all the time. It has a complement of hose. Okay. You see 1,000 feet of 5-inch, which is your large diameter. And then you have 1,000 feet of 3-inch, which is a smaller hose it's more maneuverable, like for house fires. The large diameter hose we probably use like with Chevron, or if we have a major building. It has 600 gallons of water in there. Okay. And it has a pump. All right. They're more maneuverable because they're small wheelbase. So these you'll see at your medicals, they have the medical bags. Every piece of equipment has a medical bag, but that's what you'll get on a full response. Okay. They respond to medicals, let's see, fires, hazmats, freeway accidents, anytime you need them. Okay. So if you have a busted water heater, flooding, and people, you got to understand, I mean, what might be an emergency, what might not be an emergency to one person may be to another. So if you have nobody else to call, who do you call? You call 911. And that's where the fire department comes in. We'll come anytime you need us, because something has gotten out of control in your life and you need help. Today we responded to a attempted suicide over on the overcrossing at Central on 580. So we're not sure if he was homeless or not, but he climbed out there and he was trying to take his life. But, you know, the police department showed up and talked him down, but the fire department was there. Okay. So next we have a truck, and this is the truck that's kind of, you know, I mean, a lot of controversy right now. This is truck 64. This is stationed at or housed at station 64 over on Bayview and Carlson in the annex. And the reason why it's there is because it's quick access to all the freeways. Okay, it can get up to, by going down Carlson, it can hop on 80 and it can go north or south, or it can go on to 580 and go east or west. There is another truck like this that's flexed over in station 68, one crew, but this is the only fully staffed truck right here. It's got a 110 ladder. That aerial ladder can reach up to 110 feet from the ground. That's including the platform. It's got a various complement of ladders inside there. You see that the big compartment in the middle, that's hollow on the inside. So that's where we store a bunch of our ladders in there. Various sizes. It's giant toolbox with wheels. That's what it is. There's cutting tools, rescue equipment, ropes and harnesses. This also responds to freeway accidents to block. Okay, because there's a lot of accidents on the freeway where people just aren't paying attention, looking at their phones, or they're intoxicated, and firefighters get killed. I myself almost got hit on a freeway when I was a young engineer by a car just flying 65 miles an hour and having no regard by me when we were trying to put out a car fire on the freeway. And that was pretty scary. So now we have a policy where when there's an accident on the freeway, we send 2 pieces of equipment minimum and 1 blocks for the other. Okay. Everybody clear on the difference between a truck and an engine? I know they're all fire trucks. I don't know if you guys, anybody has Instagram or anything. I put that in there. This is from our Instagram page. Feel free to follow us at Richmond Firefighters Local 188. We have a lot of pictures. We have, announcements on there when there's, toy program for looking for volunteers or just information that comes out there. So please feel free to follow us if you like.
Could you repeat the name on Instagram again?
It's on the screen. It's Richmond Firefighters Local 188. You just right there on the top.
Thanks.
No problem. We also have a Facebook account, and it's the same way. Okay, so here, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is your overview of their stations, okay? All the ones that are red are the Richmond Fire units, okay? I don't have a pointer. Oh, you know what? Can everybody see my cursor? Moving?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is your station right here. Okay, this is station 63. This is the one that affects you, okay? And you can see where we're all kind of dispersed. And the reason why we're positioned that way is because we have to be able to get to our furthest point in our jurisdiction within 5 minutes. Is everybody familiar with how long, or anybody knows how long it takes for the brain to go without oxygen before it starts to die? 4 to 6 minutes, okay? Your brain, after 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen, will start to die, okay? And you're going to start noticing deficits, okay? If somebody is underwater for 7 minutes, more than likely they're going to have some kind of deficit. Now, there's differences with cold water because the body slows down the metabolism. In cold water, you have a better chance of coming out without anything. But the point I'm trying to make is if you go without air, oxygen in your brain, you will start to suffer some deficits. All right. So that's why the fire stations are positioned the way they are. So these yellow ones right here, like this is a Contra Costa County station right here. This is station 69, and they cover this area here. You have station 68, which is your Hilltop. Okay, we have another, this is station 70, which is San Pablo. Okay, these two right here, I have another one because they're building a new station here, and this one is going to move here. So right now it's located on San Pablo Avenue, but it's going to move over to 23rd. Okay. So I add that in there. And these are the two El Cerrito stations. There's another one here up in Kensington, but that doesn't really come into play. I didn't put it on there because I don't think it was relevant to our conversation tonight. Where are you? Okay. So here's El Cerrito 72 and El Cerrito 71. Here's 64. And this is where the truck and the engine are. So let's just say, I mean, right now we have 7 stations and 8 companies. Okay. So the city wants to take the truck away. Okay. So you're automatically taking away 3 people. Now we're down to 21. And anytime you get a call or a fire, you're going to create this huge response gap. Okay. So if you have a fire, let's just say you have a fire, you're going to get probably 69, you're going to get 68, and then you're going to get maybe 70 or 66. Okay. So these guys are all going to come. All right. And then you're going to get the truck. All right. So let's just say truck 64 is not there. And now you're getting all these companies and 64 is out on a medical. We're going to need to find a truck from somewhere. So I know when the Chevys, everybody remembers Chevys off of Bloom Drive when it burned down. We didn't have a truck available, so we needed a truck from Orinda Moraga. So we needed a truck to come all the way over there. All right. So that's going to be a problem. Okay. And I don't know, is anybody familiar with the mayor's e-forum, Mayor Butt's e-forum? Okay. He had an entry yesterday that was quite disturbing to us because it's misinformation. You know, he asked the fire chief these questions, and the fire chief, he's misleading the public, the residents of Richmond, because how can you not? It's a simple question of math. If you have so many people coming and then you start to eliminate from, you're going to have a delay. It's going to create a delay. Look at it like this right now. Let's just say there was a fire downtown and 63 had to go. Okay, let's say the fire's over here. So you're going to get the 3 closest people. Okay, you now have a huge gap right here. Right, you have a huge gap. On the other side over here, let's see, I believe it's Pinole. This is Pinole back here, and they closed one of their stations. So this is an issue. This is a problem. We should not be cutting fire service and then lying about it. You know, we're requesting a study done to show the city council members, because they should know this. Mayor Butt's been in the council for a long time. Mayor or council member Bates, a vice mayor, he's been there for 40 years. You know, they've been there. They know these things. I just don't understand why they're ignoring this, and they're trying to mislead the residents. So my point with this is we shouldn't be, with all the developments that they have going on, the way the city, you know, is changing. We should not be cutting fire service. We should be adding it. Okay. When let's see my next slide. Staffing through the years. In 1978, we had 140 firefighters. When I got hired, we had 110. Today we have 76. Okay. Since 1995, we've had 3 firefighters commit suicide. Richmond firefighters. Okay. PTSD claims are up, and your firefighters are overworked. Okay. There's a huge question of overtime. Well, guess what? We agree with that problem. We agree that there's too much overtime. Our firefighters are overworked. Some of them don't come home for days. And we all have families, and we know, everybody likes to come home after they're done working. But when you work in the fire department, we run 48-96 schedule, which means you're on for 48 hours and then you're off for 4. Okay. And you're supposed to be off for 4 so you can come back refreshed. But a lot of these firefighters are working 8 days in a row, 9 days in a row, 4 days in a row. Think about that, especially during the holidays. You know, and they twist it around. Theoretically, it's cheaper to pay for overtime than it is to hire people, because you don't have to pay for the benefits, right? But it's also dangerous. It's also dangerous. So the city has done this for years. They've not hired to save on the benefits and paid the overtime. Well, now the overtime is just crazy, because look at how far down we've gotten. 76 firefighters? That's barely enough to cover all 3 shifts. So that's a huge problem. Okay, I don't know why they're not hiring. I mean, that's been our recommendation all along. That's all I have. You know, I don't want to take it too crazy with everyone, because I don't want to overwhelm. And you know, I mean, I'd rather just answer questions. Do we have any questions at all? Or that's all I have, really.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Before we get to questions, I would like to ask Captain Bargas to talk about our neighborhood fire station. If you could tell us how many people there are at this station, how many incidents, an average we get per month, per year, whatever. Sorry, I have no statistic. Excuse my ignorance.
No, hi. I've worked at Station 63 for about 4 years now. And Station 63 at Valley View and Amen is pretty unique because we're kind of separated from everybody. We average probably four calls a day if you average it. Some days we'll have 2, some days we'll have 7. So 4 is a pretty good average out of that station. One of the problems, like 4s is more what we consider within the city a senior station. So more of your senior firefighters and captains tend to work out there because it's a slower station within the city. But at that same time, when we have fires, we know we're isolated for a longer period of time than other parts of the city. If you were downtown and had a structure fire, a residential structure fire, you would have 3 engines there within 5 minutes. If we have a fire in Castro Ranch or off of Rain Cloud, we could be the only fire engine there for 8 or 10 minutes. And a fire doubles every minute that it's burning, right? So Station 63 is very unique. We have 1 fire engine and 1 Type 6, which basically is a 4-wheel drive pickup truck with 200 gallons of water to help us fight fires in Wildcat Canyon or at the park, right? And San Pablo Dam Reservoir. One of our biggest fears, I guess, is that if something major happens, we're stuck to our side of the freeway without any help. We have us, Station 69, which is on Appian Road near the Boys and Girls Club, and that's the only 2 stations on this side of the freeway, or your side of the freeway, right? So Contra Costa Fire District and Richmond Fire District work independently, but we try to work together and have the closest unit respond. It doesn't always work. Contra Costa is a big department. They cover from Antioch to Brentwood, all the way through Central County and West County. So if there's a large fire in Crockett, for example, Station 69 on Appian is going to be gone. So that only leaves Station 63 to cover everything on this side of the freeway, which is a huge area, right? We're not getting any help. So I used to work at 68 at Hilltop, where they crossed out the truck and the engine, and the truck would respond for a structure fire. But now that they've gotten so much busier, that's actually our 3rd busiest station in the city. The truck is rarely available for structure fires. They're just busy. And Station 64 at Bayview and Carlson is also pretty comparative to the run volume. So they'll be out at a lot of medicals as well. So if that truck also gets taken out to be cross-staffed, there will be no extra apparatus, extra toolbox basically to come to a structure fire. It'll be all fire engines, which just makes it very difficult to fight a structure fire because we need that toolbox. We have a great relationship with Contra Costa Fire District, but we do work independently. As we know, we have an older community on our side of town in the 803 area. It's a much older community, so it's important that we have the best response possible. One of our big problems in our community is that the lack of visible addresses on the sidewalk. That's a huge deal for us. When we respond at night to try to find the correct address, to say it's difficult is an understatement. And I don't know how we could do that as a community, or Boy Scouts could do it, or a private company can paint addresses. But those addresses on your curbs make a big difference in our response time. And if I could advise you to do any one single thing to help us respond to you quicker, that would be it. I'm available for any questions you have. We have great crews that work out of that fire station, very knowledgeable, very experienced. You're very lucky to have the crews that you have working out of that station.
Thank you very much. I should inform everyone that we are recording and the recording will be public. If you don't want to be seen, please turn your video off. It's going to be posted on Nextdoor and it's going to be on YouTube. Thank you very much. I have some questions, but I would like to see if there are other questions before I ask mine. You can physically raise your hand if I can see you, or you can raise your hand and okay, Marilyn, go ahead, please.
Well, I have a question on what kind of emergency response might be involved when the, my understanding is we have gas lines that run pretty much parallel, majors gas lines, parallel to Highway 80.
Yeah.
And of course, we had the Hayward Fault, which cuts out of Wildcat Canyon, from Arlington and Alvarado, and it shoots towards Point Null, but it cuts through San Pablo. They don't know exactly where it is there, where the rupture would be. That means those gas lines are at danger in rupturing in an earthquake. And as far as I know, they have done nothing to fix that, because there are potential fixes. And if I'm reading this map correctly, when that happens, there will be only 2 fire engines on this side at the same time as there's an increase of fire risk. So has there been any attention paid to that situation?
Let me answer it by saying that is true. Okay, there are fuel lines that run through the length of 80. They go to San Francisco and Oakland Airport because that fuel is so volatile. They don't want to put it on trucks, so they just pipe it over there. I did the inspection. There's a pump that that pumps that actually supplies that from the refinery over off of Richmond Parkway, and you can see it. It's very, it's kind of the greenish pump station over to the right. It's pretty big, but that's the one that supplies it. I only know that because I did the inspection there. My answer to that would be, you should get a CERT team. Okay, you should have a CERT team out there because you have such limited resources, and this is going to be every community in the Bay Area, not just the city of Richmond. You should get a CERT team so you can handle some minor search and rescue, first aid, minor rescue. I would say, it's a pretty good class, the CERT program, and it gives you a good head start. That would be my best answer to addressing it, because though we try to prepare as much as we can, how can you prepare for the unknown? Can that those pipelines rupture? Absolutely. But where would they rupture? Would they rupture in Oakland? Would they rupture in Hayward? Would they rupture in Richmond? Nobody knows.
Well, I assume they would rupture at the fault trace.
Well, there's lots of joints. Unfortunately, it's not just one solid line. So, and I know that they put those in. Keep in mind too that, to service a pipeline under a freeway, I don't even know if they could ever do that until they shut the freeway down for an extended amount of time, Well,
I was kind of hoping you'd say they had shut-off systems planned for
They do.
seismic.
They do, but there's still going to be fuel inside there.
Yeah.
They can shut the pressure off.
Thank
Hey,
you. I'm not sure if your hand is up. You can talk anytime you want. Captain Bargas.
Yeah, I would like to add that Kinder Morgan runs that pipeline and it goes all the way to Reno. They run a bullet through there, which has like a camera that checks for leaks on an annual basis. But if you're familiar right now, Walnut Creek has had a leak in their fuel line for like a month, and they had to shut it down from Concord all the way to San Jose. So to drain all that fuel took several days. So even though they're able to shut that line down, it would take a day to drain it. And even then you would have residue within that pipeline. So it would never truly be safe. I don't know if you recall, about 5 years ago, Walnut Creek had a cracked fuel line on the side of the freeway, big explosion. Several firefighters were injured. It was near a school. It was a nightmare. And that was about 5 years ago. So The fuel line breaking from an earthquake, they say that it's rare. It's more, the problem that I would be more concerned with, because that would break on the opposite side, would be that there would be no apparatus able to cross the overpasses until they were checked. So they couldn't just send a fire engine across, because they'd have to be inspected to see if they could take the weight of a fire engine or a fire truck. So that's why when we have these CERT teams or community awareness, we talk about 72 hours of being able to take care of yourself, because we don't know how long it will be for a firefighter or a police officer to get to you. It'd be great to say that we could be there within an hour or two, but it's unrealistic for us to even guess. I see Captain Schwimmer, or retired Captain Schwimmer there, and he could vouch for, when we have an earthquake or a major incident, it's really important that we have CERT teams or small community teams, whether it's one in the Castro Ranch area or May Valley or off of Santa Rita or behind De Anza, that we have our own communities, people within our communities to check on the elderly and to be able to help each other out.
Thank you. Joni, I see your hands up.
Yep, it's been kind of a challenge. Sorry.
It's okay. Hi, first of all, my brother is a firefighter in Texas, so it comes from my heart how much I appreciate you guys. And you've been in my home, Station 63. My husband fainted one time, and you've all been here when I was in my bathrobe, and I can't thank you enough. Delightful crews, and we're so lucky to have you. So I'd like to know, who is it? Should we start lobbying with the mayor? How can we help you guys not only keep the services, but expand the services to make sure we're doing what we can? I know cities are tight for money, but this is so serious right now to us.
I would write letters to the city manager, to the mayor, to the city council. And then once you have your district representative, definitely you want to let your district representative know. That's all we can do at this time. The city is playing, they're denying their proposals and their ideas of shutting the truck company and closing another station. And it's just, it's unfair. It's not true. I mean, we stand by our claim only because we were approached by the city and with their intention. I mean, I shared the proposal with Miss Bana, and she saw it. So, I stand by our position, but that's what the only thing we could do is just spread the word, educate the residents, and let the city manager know that you do not accept that. You don't approve of that, and the city council as well.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for your service.
My
Thanks.
pleasure.
Thank you. Joey, you're next.
Hey, good evening. Sorry I was late. Good to see some people. Joni, I remember you from several events up in the area. Louis, Rick, good to see you guys.
Hey, Joe.
So just to kind of reiterate what Lou just said, I will also tell you in my union activity with the city, there's a lot of times that the city staff is really saying one thing to the union, and they're saying an entirely different thing to the city council. So the more it's really important that where the squeaky wheel or the squeaky wheel is going to get the grease. We're kind of in an isolated area, and it's incredibly important that we keep this fire station and all fire stations open. Quite honestly, we can't really afford to lose any of them. So it's really important that, it's a good to see the number of people that are on here, but we really need to come together and really become vocal and let them know that this is some absolute nonsense, and there needs to be some things taken care of. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Although the last thing I want to say jokingly is I can still see there's no grooming standards with the fire department.
Thanks, Joe.
But I love you guys.
We love you too, buddy. We miss you, man.
Joe, are you also a firefighter or a neighbor or both?
I live in Carriage Hills, and I'm a retired police captain with the Richmond Police Department.
Oh, okay. I'd like to have your email address, please. You can help us.
Yep.
943 Emergency Preparedness Alliance.
I just retired. Almost a year ago, December 30 of 2019.
Good for you. Well, I hope you have fun activities during your retirement and do a little volunteer help with us too.
I will. And just one last thing. The other way that we can help each other, and especially when Rick was talking about earthquakes and whatnot, reach out to the fire department and sign up and become a CERT volunteer. Incredibly important, and especially, again, we're in an isolated area and we need to take care of ourselves. CERT, I was a CERT instructor many years ago. I can tell you that a lot of the training that you get will be extremely beneficial, not if the big one hit, but when. So please pass the word to your neighbors about trying to get active as a CERT volunteer as well.
Thank you. Could someone explain it specifically, exactly how we apply for CERT classes? Whom do we
That's simple.
contact?
You just reach out to Genevieve, Pastor
Okay.
Cohen,
Okay,
and let her know that that your organization would like to have a CERT class.
very good. Will do.
Then what she'll try to do is she'll try to line you up with other people that are requesting that as well, and then they'll run you through it.
Okay. Is there a timeline for the budget negotiation? So we tell the neighbors, by when they need to write, what is the process?
There is no timeline right now. We're just, waiting for a response. Right now, I had to respond to that ridiculous e-forum that the mayor put up yesterday. So you'll be seeing that soon. We're just waiting for the city to respond to us, and we're willing to work with the city, that's never been an issue. It's just the fact that they're just trying to impose this on us, and they're playing, well, they're lying about it.
I see.
I'll just add that if you want to think about it, and maybe I missed it, but initially the mayor was adamant that this whole thing about a fire station being closed was absolute nonsense. It was a lie, and now all of a sudden it's an entirely different story. So this is kind of, again, this is kind of where you got to keep your eyes open and your ears open, become involved, and kind of listen to the message and figure out what's going on, and be able to decipher between what's the truth and what's not. And obviously, if you think about it in that context, you got the mayor said two different things, and now he's kind of caught.
Yeah. I would not be going through everything and putting this out there if it wasn't true. It doesn't make any sense for me to do that, just to make a claim, well, they're trying to close two stations, that's ridiculous,
I wonder how they decide where to locate the fire station. Our area is a very high fire hazard severity zone. We are right by the Wildcat Canyon, and we only have one fire station, and the truck you mentioned is located somewhere else on the other side of the freeway. So we have the minimum amenities and the maximum danger of fire. Why? Who decides where they should be?
Well, that's in the planning department, and what happens is they decide every fire station has to be able to go to their furthest point in their jurisdiction within 5 minutes. So once that starts to get beyond that, then the question comes up, but then I'll just be honest, there's a question of cost as well.
But how
Rick,
about severity of fire? Do they consider it? I understand the mayor lives on the other side of the freeway. Many services are available on the other side of the freeway. Our county supervisor lives over there, but here we don't have many services. We suffer from lack of civil services, actually.
And you pay a lot of taxes too.
And I have one more question, actually. You mentioned the amount of water in a fire engine.
Mhm.
We have the EB Mud Reservoir, and they said they have certain amount of water there. But in case of a real wildfire, there will be no power. They do not have a generator to take the water up to the reservoir. it's very scary for us. They say, don't worry, we have generators in other places, we'll bring it over. It may not be practical, during an earthquake or wildfire or
Yeah.
something. And there are federal grants available for generators, but nobody moves, nobody acts. It's very frustrating. How do we know if that water is enough?
Well, I can't answer that only because I don't know what the emergency is. Is it 10 houses on fire? Is it 2 houses on fire? Is it 100 houses on fire? Obviously, they all have different requirements. Rick, do you have something you want to?
No, I know they have portable generators that are easily accessible through Caltrans and other places to help, and through East Bay Mud to help push the water through. At one point, they would probably ride off the canyon and just be involved in structure protection. So you would have your structure protection on the backside of a hillside there, and where it comes up, we were worried about those kind of structures, and there are just different areas that we would go to and worry more about structure protection and carry less about the wildland structure of it. And that's where you would have your airplanes. They would come in and drop water, and you would have helicopters and different resources available to us through the state and through the federal program. As far as amount of water, it's when they had the Oakland firestorm, they found out they had problems with different hydrants. Oakland and San Francisco were so arrogant that they thought they would never need help, and their fire hydrants had different fittings than everybody else in the state. So when we responded to Oakland, we couldn't use our equipment to help them fight their fire. And so since then, the whole state has gotten on the same page with the same size fittings. We all have the same radio systems now. There's a lot of things that have been done since the Oakland fire hills. So we're all working on at least fewer pages than we were before, but you're always going to have issues when you have major campaign fires. And CAL FIRE comes in, we do it better than anywhere else in the country because we've had a lot more fires. So they have a pretty good program, and they have pretty good response, and we have a pretty good team within CAL FIRE itself. They're just a great resource to us as citizens and residents.
Something to mention real quick is make sure that everybody has a good defensible space. So if you have shrubs that are overgrown, trees that are touching your roof, trim them back. Okay, right now it's not so bad because we got wet weather coming and get a lot of moisture in the air. But when springtime comes next year, make sure you trim your trees and your shrubs, especially if you borderline a wildland interface, that you have a good defensible space.
Can I ask something about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Can it be can the fire department go around and give a letter to everybody and say, please get rid of your juniper, please cut down your dead tree or whatever?
Absolutely.
I know in other counties, we're new to the area, but in other counties I know they've done that, and it could be finable offense to have that around. Is that, I know
Yes.
Richmond's so big.
We have a very, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we do have a very high fire severity zone program that our engine companies do go around. As a matter of fact, Captain Bargas was doing it in his district or out there. And we hand a letter, and it's informational, but we also do inspections. So if we see a fireplace that doesn't have spark arresters, or we see overgrown shrubs, we give you a notice.
We go out every year and do that. Part of the problem is there's no teeth to that program.
Yeah.
I could write you up for the same juniper 6 years in a row, and there's no way to make you do it. I mean, the fire marshal has been trying with the city council and planning and different people to put some teeth into that program. But if we can't make you do it, all it is, hey, can you please cut your bushes back? And it's up to you if you want to do it or not. There's nothing we can do to make you do it. We have people that have wood shake roofs that have had holes in them for 10 years and right in the middle of an urban interface, and there's not a thing we can do about it. We could just tell them and advise them and hope that out of the goodness of your heart, you care about your neighbors.
Well, one of the things I brought up with you before we started recording was that we are asking for a commission on emergency preparedness. The good thing about it is that we as residents, we can have more civil engagement with the city council. we would love to have that and propose some regulation ordinances with regards to safety. So a recommendation by its firefighter inspectors would have some teeth into it, and residents would get fined and could do it. And thank you very much for offering your support for the proposal. We're going to
Absolutely.
actively go after that and request a commission for the city of Richmond. That's very important. I have one important question for you, Captain Bargas. There are not many ham radio operators in the area. We just learned about it. I think there's only one person, and because of the train, communication is not good. I wonder if in our neighborhood we can work out a network scheme. I'm sure you will have the radio to communicate with the right bandwidth, I mean, with higher network. Is it possible we can work out a network with locals that we buy something, you know, is small and communicate with you in case of a disaster? Major.
No, that's been discussed over the years. And I know Genevieve is trying to coordinate the ham operators, but because we go through a dispatch system, which has not been made, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but we changed the dispatching systems about 3 years ago to Mark 43, which was for the police department. Unfortunately, at that time, the fire department didn't take much of an interest in when they had to change, so it really wasn't made for the fire service. So it's difficult on us to be able to communicate when we're in Carriage Hills or different dead spots within the valley. So it's hard enough on our own communication system to have a second system with the ham radio. It would have to be coordinated through the dispatch center. And at this point, I think it's unrealistic.
Okay.
It's a great idea, but I don't think it's even close to being a reality.
We need to come up with a solution. We don't want to be totally cut off from civilization in case of a major earthquake or something like that. Joe, you have your hand up?
Yeah, again, I would recommend you touching bases with Genevieve, Pastor Cohen. There is I think there is still a small number of ham radio operators in Richmond. There's a group of them. They meet occasionally. She might be able to put you in contact with them as an alternative for communications among us and the citizens. I will also just say that in the event of a disaster, especially an earthquake or a fire for that matter, cell towers can go down pretty quick. And it's always a good idea to have a landline at your house as another means of communication. And again, a physical landline and not a battery operated cordless telephone, but the old school kind of telephone, something you can plug in the wall and you might be able to utilize.
Thank you. Yeah. I have one of those at home, actually. It was an ugly thing at my workplace. They had thrown out. I took it out of the trash can and brought it home.
You never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Okay, if there are
Question?
no,
Mr.
Go ahead.
Clerk.
Can I go ahead? Yeah, okay, I guess I'll go ahead. Yeah, I had when I heard about the proposal to cut back on fire service or personnel, I kind of looked at the map of the city and the location of the fire stations, and our city has two very high fire severity zones. One is out in Point Richmond and one is out here. And when you look at the map, that high fire severity zone has, I think, about 8 fire stations within a few minutes of the area. And when you look at us, like Rick said earlier, there's 2. So that appears to be a pretty big imbalance. And I'm wondering, how do you feel as firefighters? I mean, does the union have a position? Is that adequate? Is that okay? Or, you know, it seems to me it's a pretty big disparity.
You know, I wish I could say, yeah, just add another fire station, but I think realistically, it's important not to close yours.
Yeah.
Not to have yours affected. It's important. I know, Rick, and you can, co-sign this, that whenever we have to do a move up, like let's say another jurisdiction needs help and we have to move engines strategically to cover the city the best we can, we stay away from Station 63 because they're on an island out there so much, you know, so that's a very critical station. Rick, you have anything else on that, or?
Yeah, if you guys are familiar, 30 years ago, the firehouse was over there by Cheese Park on Morningside. And that's just when they started building more of the Carriage Hills South, and that's why they moved the station over to Valley View and Amen to have better access to that corner. You know, really the problem is that Richmond surrounds San Pablo and El Sobrante. So as far as Richmond city limits on that side of, if you want to call it town, is very limited. Most of our area really is county. So as far as the city goes, when you look at Pinole Valley, Alhambra T right there, and to where Adachi Nursery was, or to Clark Road. Clark Road is easy to get to, where Adachi was, where the city was easy to get to. It's that stretch that gets us all the way out to Pinole Valley and Alhambra that takes us the longest to get to. And so they thought they were trying to help by moving the firehouse a little closer. In reality, they probably could have kept one on Morningside and added one on Castro Ranch. But because of the call volume, they'll never do it. And even though politically, the two most politically, or there's probably three parts of the city that really vote. It's the Point, it's May Valley, and it's all East Richmond Heights, right? That's where you have most of your voters at. So that's where you're gonna get most of your attention. And with that firehouse that was built on Valley View and Amen, it was built on a dry creek bed. It's starting to shift, coming off the foundation. It has multiple issues over there. But that was the quick fix to be able to get a fire engine closer to Carriage Hills. And that's probably as, I don't see the city stepping up to build a second firehouse on that side of the freeway. It'd be great, but I don't see it.
Yeah. So one other question then, the proposal the city has made about the brownout, the rolling brownout, they call it, was that going to be distributed evenly among all the stations, including 63, or is it not to the point where you really know what they want to do?
Right now, that hasn't been decided. I can go off the history that when we did this back in 2004 during the .com crash, it was 66, 67, and 62.
Yeah, and 61, they tried to close 61, but it was too politically active.
That's where the mayor lives.
And so that lasted about a week. And they went and closed the two stations in the Iron Triangle, 7th and Hensley, South 12th and Cutting, and 41st and Clinton, and rotated those three stations. But the one on 41st and Clinton also goes in the county. And at that point, we were having political issues with Contra Costa's fire district. So that stayed open, and it basically swapped between South 12th and Cutting and 7th and Hensley. Right now, they want to take the truck out because it's easier. Nobody will notice a crew in a truck. So it's kind of an easier target, I guess, and less politically active.
They're banking on ignorance from the residents, not knowing the difference. They're just going to say open station. What do you know? We're good. With COVID though, before we go any further, I mean, I know COVID's kind of messing everything up, but once this clears up, I invite everybody here to visit the fire station, visit Station 63, get to know and see all the equipment that you have there at your disposal.
Thank you. We also asked for reports. Some of the neighbors have Pulse Point. They told me about it. It has all the incidents. We never get anything from Richmond. Apparently Richmond is not listed yet.
Right.
But Chief Shepherd promised us it will start beginning of January of next year. So hopefully we would like to know how well the fire department is handling incidents, what's going on.
Sure.
We get it from all over the county, not the city of Richmond. Hopefully we'll get that. And we do count on your support for getting red flags on red flag days and other issues, having CERT classes. I'll be in touch with you. And you can count on our support, especially after January during holidays. You know, people are in the holiday mood, but we will write to the city. We wrote, actually, many people wrote to the mayor, city council member, and the mayor assured us no fire station will be closed. And we took it as like no budget cut to the fire department. And I'm glad you're explaining to us how things are going, and please keep us posted about the progress of negotiation. We appreciate it and hope to have you here again.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thank
Um,
you for having us.
I'd like to add one thing. I don't know about the red flags being posted, but if you're familiar with Moraga, as you come off the freeway headed towards San Pablo Dam, they have a big wooden sign with a red flag, green flag, or red warning, green warning. Those would be probably easier for the city to post. One on Castro Ranch, one on San Pablo Dam. It's very limited where the city of Richmond is. You have one right there by Tri Lane, and the athletic club is actually the city of Richmond. It'd be a good place for them to post it right there. But as far as the rest of San Pablo Dam, it's mostly unincorporated, so they don't have the authority to put something on San Pablo Dam.
Actually, we asked Chief Burchard to have the same red flag if possible. I shared the design that Chief Shepherd from the city of Richmond has in mind and asked them to cooperate together and have the same. And along San Pablo Dam Road on major intersections, he said we would. So I'm
Very
gonna
good.
follow up with him in January. Yeah.
Good.
There are other things actually we would like to follow up, like we heard of a huge federal grant for hazard mitigation or something like that, and Will has been talking to them. We were hoping we could get some of that budget for our area, very high fire hazard severity zone. We haven't been very successful yet. Seems like neither the city nor the county have the inclination to start grant writing, but we're pushing. We're doing our best. We're there. Thank you very much again. If there are no more questions, I'm going to stop recording, and it is 1 hour. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I have one more quick question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. My internet was kind of spotty today. Is there any way we can get the PowerPoints for the presentation that was showed?
Well,
Yes,
I'm
I can email it to
recording
you.
it. I'm sorry?
I can email it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
I can email it to Miss Bana, and then she can distribute it as she sees.
Yeah, you can email me. I'll send it. Unfortunately, I cannot send any attachment in the group email. It's not like personal email, but I will send a link to the recording. Thank you so much again.
All right. Thank you for having us. Keep it up. I really appreciate you allowing us to be here and to speak with everyone. And I hope to come back again.
Yeah,
Rick?
thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
good.
both.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Good
Okay.
night.